Item girl, I don't know who created that word. You know, it doesn't even like phonetically make sense.
Yeah.
Like item is a thing. You know, like this is an item, you know, this is an item. And then girl, it doesn't even make sense. So for
True.
me, I don't understand it. You know, people like Shah Rukh and Madhuri, Dixit ma'am and Amitabh Bachchan sir and all these people have really like, they've been a part of the childhood of our parents, our grandparents, and they didn't watch anything but Hindi cinema, and they loved Hindi culture, Hindi music. Where any place you go, and it's not your country, and you're of another different culture, you'll always receive some sort of. It's almost like, okay, like you're here, like you need to prove yourself. Like, and I fought so much when I used to do songs just about my hook steps. Like there would be so many fights with filmmakers because they wouldn't let me do hard hook steps. They'd be like, no, keep it easy, like keep it really easy. And I'd be like, no, like that's the only way I'll break into the industry. That's the only way people will respect me, if I bring something different and challenging to the table. What I wanted to do is show my sassy side. I wanted to show my Western sassy
Absolutely.
girl side where, you know, I'm fully there, free, it's confidence, it's fierceness, and that's a lot of these words are characterizations of my background, you know. An Indian princess in India, you know, who knows?
Who knows? Who
And
knows?
I've come to fulfill the mission. I don't know what's going on, but I knew that if I didn't learn the language, I won't be accepted.
They say when you start something new, it often meets with a lot of resistance. But when you're persistent, it becomes the reason for somebody else's freedom. And today I have somebody who's created a revolution with her dance moves and been the source of inspiration for many out there. She's clearly India's answer to Rihanna and Beyonce. And this is the best way to invite Nora Fatehi in conversation with me only on Bollywood Bubble. Thank you so much, Nora.
That was an amazing introduction. It's very sweet.
But I actually mean it. I do feel that एक डायलॉग है डर्टी पिक्चर में ना, एक डायलॉग है अंजू महिंद्रू बोलती है कि जो तुम आज कर रही हो वो बगावत है, सालों बाद इसी को लोग आज़ादी कहेंगे, which is what I translated in Hindi, English, and I said, and it is something that you've done. I think that today, like I told you just before my interview began, that my 10-year-old niece knows you. Does it give you a sense of validation from where you began?
Oh yeah, 100%. It gives me more than a sense of validation. I think it gives me a sense of achievement. I had a vision when I started, and I'm seeing that vision come to life. And kids like your niece, for example, when they become admirers of mine, and I inspire them, and they know who I am, they know my existence. That in itself means that my vision's coming to life and it's going in the right direction. I wanted to be a global brand. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to shake up the industry. I wanted to create records. I wanted to create a movement as such, where people never really expected that someone like me, without a background of any sorts in the industry, would be able to make such an impact.
When did you start? You know, when did you start dancing, and when did you start the decision of moving to India?
I think more than dancing, everything that's involved with the arts, dancing, acting, singing, just being this, you know, little diva who just wants to perform, you know, like an all-out performer. I always felt that in me since I was a child, you know, and in every interview, I say different age. Sometimes I'm like 3, sometimes I'm like 5, 4. I don't remember the age.
You don't remember, yeah, exactly.
I just think it started from the beginning. And I just knew that there was some sort of soul in me or an energy in me that when the spotlights come on and when the music is on or when it's time to perform, I just become somebody else and I just take over with this immense confidence, and I just feel like I know what I'm doing. Even though I probably don't know what I'm doing, but it's just an energy that I give out, and I feel like I'm me when I'm doing that, and I know that I can channel myself and connect with people while I'm doing that. So it's complicated to explain, but even in school, like whenever I'd be on stage dancing, you know, I I just get the attention of the audience, and and they want to learn also, and they want to do the same moves, and it could be just like 2 moves I'm repeating over and over again. But I had that power, I had that ability, and I always knew I wanted to do something with that. But I mean, coming to India and doing it here, and then coming out of India and having that global effect, I imagined it, I dreamt it, but I didn't think I'd be able to achieve it very, very quickly.
Yeah.
I thought it would take more time, but I think because I was always on my toes and my brain was always like working really quickly. So whenever something happened, whenever a song happened, or whenever something was a hit of mine, I always translated it into something else. It converted into something else. So I never really enjoyed and said, oh, this song is a hit, great, let's go to Maldives and enjoy. I always thought, okay, now what do I do with this?
Next,
how do I convert? So I think the engine was always rolling, and that's probably why it's been able to happen for me.
But when did you decide to like move to India? Not a lot of people know that, in Morocco, this is what you've told me, that people really love Bollywood.
Yeah. I mean, all African countries love Bollywood and have a connection to Hindi cinema with their upbringing. And I think, people like Shah Rukh and Madhuri, Dixit ma'am, and Amitabh Bachchan sir, and all these people have really they've been a part of the childhood of our parents, our grandparents, and they didn't watch anything but Hindi cinema, and they loved Hindi culture, Hindi music, and it wasn't just Moroccan people, even my friends, who I grew up with, who are Somalian and Kenyan and of all different backgrounds, they also know all Hindi songs by heart. They know all the films, and they've learned Hindi via watching the films. So I feel like we were never disconnected to the Hindi culture and Hindi cinema. But for me, just the idea of picking up and going and creating an impact in a place for myself, and also representing so many people who have been watching Hindi cinema all their lives, but they also never thought that someone from their people or their background would also have a place in Hindi cinema.
When you started off, you were representing a community that was never really represented in Indian films, to be very honest, to the extent that you have managed to get eyeballs for. I think you represent them really, really well, and in a very, very dignified manner. In the beginning, were you ever treated like a minority because of your ethnicity in the country when it came to dancing?
I think where any place you go and it's not your country and you're of another different culture, you'll always receive some sort of I don't know what the word is. It's almost like, okay, you're here, you need to prove yourself. And I don't blame, that's in every country. So many Indian people go to Canada, and they're immigrants in Canada, and they got to prove themselves. They have to learn the language, they have to go to school, then they have to get a job, and then they need to assimilate into the environment, and that's it's cool, fair enough. So when I came here, I realized that people who didn't do that often face backlash. People who didn't want to learn the language and thought they were too good, or people who didn't want to assimilate to the culture and gave that vibe that they're just too good for this, and they're Western and they're this, they would receive that kind of pushback, and I totally understood that, and so I evaluated that, and I was like, okay, nah, if I would have to be here, yes, I'm myself, I have my identity, I'll never lose that. Actually, that's one of my plus points, but I need to also learn the language, I need to respect the culture, I need to assimilate, I need to be one with everybody. And it wasn't hard because anyways, besides being a Canadian, I'm an Arab, I'm a North African Arab, and our culture is very similar to Indian cultures, and it wasn't that hard. It wasn't something where it was I felt abnormal. I love the Indian culture, and maybe in a past life I was an Indian princess in India, who knows?
Who knows?
And I've come to fulfill the mission. I don't know what's going on, but I knew that if I didn't learn the language, I won't be accepted. So I really put my heart and soul into learning the language.
But in the beginning, you have as much conviction today as you had in the beginning. And especially when you are working so hard to create a space of your own, you have to have conviction, right? But do you feel that in the beginning, before the Nora Fatehi revolution ever happened, people didn't take you seriously?
I think people noticed my energy was very serious because my conviction was
Yeah.
at its highest, and I never took no for an answer. And you know, it was so crazy because I look back at like 7, 8 years ago, I wasn't that good. You know what I mean? My dancing wasn't that
No.
good. You know, I was very like, but my brain would tell me I'm like the best. You know, and I think that's what people would see. Okay, but she's so confident, and we can probably trust her with this
True.
project or with this song. And I think I'm also a firm believer of destiny, and I genuinely feel like this is my path and this is what's written for me. So even though there might be so many people who are better than me, I got the chance because it's written for me. It's my destiny. So with that, I add in a lot of hard work and a lot of effort, and also I don't disrespect people. So like people who I work with, I keep good relationships with them, and I carry myself a certain way. So I think that's also helped.
But has the judgment ever bogged you down?
I think the judgment didn't come from who I am as a
No,
person, but the
absolutely
fact
not.
that I represented dance and I pushed for dance, and I advocated for dance. And I think what I didn't understand was how an industry that was elevated via dance, was created via dance, had became an international sensation. Like Bollywood is international
Yeah.
because of dance, you know, and
Absolutely.
that's what differentiates Bollywood from Hollywood and Nollywood and any other wood in the world. You know, it's because of the dance and
Song and dance.
yeah, and the expression and the fact that everything is so synchronized and beautiful, and expression with hand movements and body language, and like that appeal that's so aspirational. So how can something like that not be respected, you know, and given its due? So it didn't make any sense to me. When I
Oh my
came, it
God.
was like still just on set, you know, everything was very underground, and Bollywood didn't celebrate dancers, and I really just wanted that as much as I wanted to act, and I do act, and I love acting, and I want to be like versatile as an artist, but I'm just glad that I managed to create this impact in Bollywood via dance.
Do you feel that with the tag, the item girl tag, there's an inherent sense of sexism attached to it because we don't really call men with any such tags?
I don't know. I mean, it depends of how you make it. I mean, item girl, I don't know who created that word. You know, it doesn't even like phonetically make sense.
Yeah.
Like item is a thing. You know, like this is an item, you know. This is an item. And then girl, it doesn't even make sense. So for
True.
me, I don't understand it, but I think what it it means it's like there's a song and there's a really hot girl and she's just like tintillating you, and there you go, that's the song. So I don't do those. I do
Yeah.
performance oriented songs. I do songs where you come and see choreography, you see some crazy hook steps, you see some power packed movement, and then a presence and an aura. And I made sure mentally that from day one that if I'm gonna do this, that this is what I'm gonna do. Like it will be about my presence, it will be about my aura, and I'm gonna bring something to the table.
Yeah.
And I fought so much when I used to do songs just about my hook steps. Like there would be so many fights with filmmakers because they wouldn't let me do hard hook steps. They'd be like, no, keep it easy, like keep it really easy. And I'd be like, no, like that's the only way I'll break into the industry. That's the only way people will respect me, if I bring something different and challenging to the table. So yeah, the Saki hook step, the Deliver hook step, all of them, I always have to like fight my case.
Even
To
the
make sure that
dirty
they go
little
through.
secret hook step, bapre.
Yeah, you know, but
It
that,
is-
but
that
I
was
don't need
you.
to fight with anybody for that. That
Because
was
you were
all
the
me,
director.
you know?
That was you.
That's all me, but because that's the independent, you know, projects that I do. But yeah, the more filmy stuff that I do, I always have to be like, no, trust me, like the audience will, let's challenge them, you know? And then suddenly there was like this plethora of people who came out of like nowhere on social media who would do these moves.
Yeah.
They would do these steps. So suddenly, I think what the industry was doing is they were dumbing down the audience for some time. And the audience is not stupid. You know, the audience is a mix of different people, of different cultures, and it's not just in India. The audience is global for Bollywood.
True.
And I always would think that, and I'd be like, guys, like let's diversify our songs, let's diversify our dance styles. And that's why I bring in belly dance, I bring in
Yeah.
Afro, I bring in you know, Latin, I bring in a lot of different dance styles in my songs.
But does it also sometimes, like the whole visual elements that you bring in and the thought processes behind your music videos, which you are creating on a creative level, does it stem from emotional experiences of yours?
Oh yeah, definitely it does. Otherwise, I wouldn't like my brain wouldn't be able to go there, that far. It does. It comes from experience, from life experience, and what I go through, and I keep thinking in my head, if shit goes wrong in my life or I'm going through shit, then I might as well use it for my benefit, creatively. So that's pretty much what I do. And I like to push the envelope, and I have a great team, like I have my friend who's a choreographer, Rajit Dev, who's always with me when I'm doing these things, and he gets it also. He understands my mind space and what I'm trying to convey, and he helps me so much. And then I just have a great team. So I feel like the team also helps me, and they believe in me, and they let me do me.
That is true.
Yeah.
Nora, I have to tell you this, that the best part about you is you celebrate being the person you are with all your flaws, and that's something that I think everybody, men, women, kids today also have to deal with on a regular basis, and it's saddening also. It's a saddening culture of in the society. I want to say that when you do a song like Dirty Little Secret, you've tried to how do I say it, like you've tried to bring in very new cultures, very new facets of dancing and plays, performing arts to the country, to our industry. Initially, when I was doing a show, I remember, so it was very different. So a lot of us felt like, "Arey, will it work? Will it not work?" We all have those apprehensions before every show. Do you ever feel, despite the success that you've got, when you bring in something new, it can meet with resistance? Like I said,
always.
Do you think about it?
Always, because I think what some people don't remember is that I cater to not just the Hindi audience, but I cater to the Middle Eastern audience. I cater to the North African audience. I cater to the Western audience. So I have to think about all these different audience markets, and I'm always like, well, if I do something like this, then might be a little too much for this audience, or a little too much for this audience, or so I'm constantly in this dilemma. However, I think in the end of the day, I look at myself as a product, right? And I'm this artist, and in me, I have many facets. I have this this part of me which is very Indian and very Hindi cinema, very Bollywood. Then I have a part of me who's very like Western, very hood girl, very ghetto. That is also me. And I also have a very very North African, Arabic influenced part to my personality also. So all these three are here, and I'm always wondering, all these three different personality traits and background and culture traits that I have, how do I mix it into my branding, and how do I mix it into my career as artist? So sometimes I'll do a little Bollywood, I'll do a song in a movie, and I'll probably put a little bit of Arabic elements into it, maybe the way I did in Dilbar,
Or even Kusu Kusu.
Or in Kusu Kusu, you know what I mean? So, and then sometimes I'll put a little Bollywood elements, like in Arabic Dilbar, although it was an Arabic song, it was a Moroccan song, I made sure visually it was very Bollywood, it was your cliche Bollywood, what everyone is used to, like NRIs would be like, oh, it's such a cliche Bollywood story, but we love it, So I always try to like do a little bit here and there, or even with Dance Mere Rani, there was a chance for me to show my Afro roots, and then with Dirty Little Secret, here, what I wanted to do is show my sassy side. I wanted to show my Western sassy girl side, where, I'm fully there, free, it's confidence, it's fierceness, and that's a lot of these words are characterizations of my background, And when I do my independent music, which is like Pipita or Arabic Dilbar or Dirty Little Secret, these are songs which I sing and produce, right? So they have nothing to do with Bollywood. They're a different part of my career. They are for the global market, including the Indian market, but the essence of it is very different. So the way the music will be made, the lyrics, the language we sing in will be completely different. And you will see a different avatar and a different aura of mine, which maybe I can't do in like Kusu Kusu, or I can't do in Ek To Kam Zindagani. But this is where I can show that part of my attitude, you know, and persona, which is more international, and I have that asset of mine, which I feel like others don't really have in our industry. So I really want to use that to my advantage.
Absolutely.
I think social media has really propelled me and my career. I always use social media as a tool, even when I was facing a lot of no's and nobody was giving me opportunities. I just go back home and use my social media and make comedy skits and do dance videos and just push myself on social media, because I'm like, well, someone's gonna see me, you know. And I think actually, you know, social media was the reason why I'm here today, because there was that one video that someone saw of me, and that's how I got them booked, you know. So I never stopped putting myself out there. I never stopped showing my talent. I never gave up. And whatever resources I had, I used. And at that point, I had Instagram, and that's what I used, you know. Until today, I still use that to propel my branding. And like even with hashtag Dance with Nora, that hashtag, the minute I started it, I knew this will become a movement. This will be like a platform where people will show their talent, and the youngsters will get an opportunity to be seen by the world, and people think good things will come out of this hashtag. And a lot of good things came out of that hashtag. Like the dancers, some of the dancers I used in Dirty Little Secret came from that hashtag. Like I wouldn't know they existed if it wasn't that hashtag, you know. Even like some of the contestants on Dance Divani Juniors, a show which I judge, some of them came from that hashtag too. So yeah.
But thank you, you know, I just feel that more power to you.
Thank
you keep doing what you're doing, because I know that जैसे मैंने कहा, that now it's become freedom to a lot of people, and soon enough it will be considered a revolution, and you will be the face behind that revolution, and that's what matters.
I appreciate it. Thank
you. Thank you.